Hey y'all, this is D-Rock.
This is Cam.
And this is
The Heartbeat.
On this week's episode, your boys are doing something a little different. An anthology episode featuring 3 different interviews they conducted with beloved bartenders from around the West End. First up, it's August and Clarissa from Tisane Euro-American Cafe. The guys chat with them about working through the lockdowns at Tisane and some of their stories. Let's take a listen.
How's it going, guys?
Good.
Pretty good. Welcome, August. Welcome, Clarissa.
Thank you.
Just for our listeners' sake, since there are 2 of you today, if you could go ahead and introduce yourselves in your own voices, just so folks can figure out who they're listening to.
Hey, I'm Clarissa. I'm August. We bartend at Tisane.
Awesome.
Thanks.
So let's go with your origin stories. I love you guys, Smile, man. You guys are awesome, man. I love you guys. Origin stories, why Hartford, growing up stories, and...
I've grown up in Glastonbury my whole life. I'm still there, but I've been in the restaurant industry since day one, like literally born into it. So I've kept in with the family business, but ex-nated the family and just stayed with the business. So it was a weird journey starting with family, and then I decided to go corporate, and I worked at Chili's for a while. So Chili's was my first really high-end bartending experience I was able to get on.
I love your Chili stories.
It was definitely a structure difference compared to working with family, but I was lucky enough to just get behind a bar and be able to do something like that for the first time. And I started meeting more people in the bartending community, which kind of opened my eyes that there was more than just shots and beers and shitty margaritas.
Where?
So I started doing a cocktail competition. My first one was at Changarosa, and it was an iron bartending competition. So I basically looked at all these ingredients that I had never seen before, and they gave us 30 seconds to look at everything. So I sat there and tried everything on the table because I had no idea even like what these liqueurs were.
That I was like, what's a pamplemousse?
Wait, what's an iron bar competition?
Yeah, I was going to ask that too.
Yeah.
They have, I think we have 10 competitors, and rather than coming up with a drink beforehand and showcasing it, it's you get a base. They're like, all right, you're coming to this competition, it's tequila. And I was like, cool, I work at Chili's, I work with tequila.
That's all we have.
And then you like impromptu make a drink up. So it's like cooking on the fly, but bartending.
Like Iron Chef, I get it now. Okay,
yeah.
Chopped. Okay.
They give you all this like random shit, and you were just like eating all of it.
I ate and drank everything on the table. And I really had no idea what I was doing, but I was like, whatever. So after 30 seconds, so cool, grab your stuff, go back to the table. And I did. I grabbed a whole lot of stuff. And I made this weird drink. I really don't even know what it was, but it was some sort of margarita-esque with a bunch of random juices. But from there, I was picked up to go to Little River. So that's where like I started coming into Hartford after that.
That's where I first saw you. Yep.
Yeah. So that place, I mean, was definitely a journey for me. I felt like I went from preschool to college and bartending, like real quick. But that place built me to be like where I am today and had a lot of learning bases of like my cocktail knowledge before I'm now at Tisane.
Okay, cool. August, what is your Peter Parker story?
My Peter Parker story. I grew up mostly in Simsbury, which was... No offense to people from Simsbury, but not a place for me.
Right.
It's definitely its own bubble. But I grew up in a little bit of everywhere because my dad was a bartender for 30 years and my parents were divorced, so I'd stay with him and he'd go bartend at night. So I'd stay with, I call them like my Brazilian family in Bridgeport, and then I had my Filipino family, and then I had all these different families that I would stay with in all these different towns across Connecticut. So grew up with a little bit of everything, but I've been on my own since I was 17. So I was a barista for 7 years before at Tisane.
Okay.
And I remember I was working at Vans in West Farms Mall, and I was living in my own apartment, and I was literally so broke. I was just eating like peanut butter out of a jar. And I was like, I need something else. I need to figure out what to do. And I had heard of Tisane from a bunch of people, and I had been in there like once or twice for dinner, but I went on Indeed and I saw that they had a posting for a barista position.
Oh, nice.
So I sent that in. I called that day. I went in. I filled out the 50-page application because that's when it was crazy. It was like the weirdest questions. It was like, what dead person would you want to have dinner with and why? What's the craziest thing you've done with a customer?
Do you want to know?
What's your zodiac sign and what zodiac sign do you hate? And I was like, what does this have to do with working at this bar? I'm just trying to make coffee. And Alexa scooped me up. And
Okay.
it's just
Awesome.
All right, so I think that's a good segue. Cam and I know Tisane pretty well, but our listeners may not. Clarissa, why don't you explain a little bit about Tisane and what one could expect when they come down?
Yeah, so Tisane's evolved over the years, and it keeps evolving. So it used to be much more of a coffee tea shop when it first opened. And not that I really know, but this is what I've heard through. Tisane's always had the most old school people working there forever, and now it's us. Like I said, it was a lot of coffee and tea. They did have a bar. There was like martinis, but it really wasn't bar focused the way it is now. And now we've turned it into much more of a nightclub, and we have better food than it's ever, I think, ever has.
more
And
craft cocktail
Yeah.
centered.
much more craft cocktail centered. Yeah, it went from like a 1970s martini bar to like now you can actually expect to have a good
1970s.
old fashioned there.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're still holding on to our coffee and tea side of it. So it's just one of those places that has a little bit of everything for everybody.
Like when I describe it to my family, they're like, can you explain where you work? I'm like, it's like a chameleon. It just changes throughout the day and whoever's in there. It's just a constantly changing community and place.
Right. We're just coming out the lockdown. So how did that look at Tisane?
Ugh.
And how did it look coming out of that at Tisane? As August scratches his neck like, oh.
Having
was,
flashbacks over here.
It was weird.
Yeah?
I just from the pandemic standpoint, I just remember before the pandemic hit, we made a group chat that we were all in, that we're still in, but it was at the point at the time was to get rid of our old GM. It turned into all of us during the pandemic just keeping connected and talking about our anxieties about everything, trying to keep up and being like, when are we going to reopen? Will we reopen? And I remember having panic attacks and like FaceTiming with Danielle Duncan, who used to work at Tisane, and being like, dude, I don't know what I'm going to do without this job. And if we don't come back, I don't know what path I'm going to go on career-wise, but
Yeah, it was a question how and when restaurants were going to come back.
yeah, that I just remember us talking about that a lot. And then finally it reopened, and I hadn't been getting any of my stimulus checks from unemployment or anything. So the first couple months of pandemic, I was just living off my savings, which was stressful. But Eric, who was our GM at the time of reopening, was like, hey, you want to come back? You want to reopen? I was like, absolutely. I need the money, whatever. I want to go anyways. I'm going crazy. And it was so bizarre. We ran those like opening windows, like facing the patio. We had the computer set up at it, and we like saran wrapped the window, and we had a menu of 5 food items and 4 drinks, and we were only patio. We handed people food through this saran wrap window.
Oh my goodness.
And it was me, Eric, Jamie, and Bridget, 4 days a week, 4-hour opening shifts, and we would rotate, and it was bizarre. Wearing gloves, wearing masks, staying away from people, not being open 7 days a week, not letting people inside.
And not for a very long time either when you were open.
No.
It was like you were open. I remember like 5 o'clock or something like that, 4 o'clock, and then you closed like at 9.
Yeah.
I came back around like June, July time, and that was still weird.
It was like you had to enter through one door and exit through another door, and we had little arrow stickers on the floor. And we didn't have any seats at the bar, and then eventually we brought back the bar, and we had those stupid
I remember.
Yeah, like,
plexiglass
even when I came
things.
back, I was a bartender without any guests for a while, which was super weird for me, and that was almost like demoralizing. Like I'm going
I
into
bet.
work and like I'm missing the whole aspect that I love, and I have no people in front of me. Like I'm literally a machine just making drinks, and it's like you had no communication, you had nothing. You just had like me and Jamie were there, and one kitchen guy.
Yep.
And she would just bring things out, and I'd just be sadly sitting behind a bar.
And it was a really big shock for me too, because that's when I started serving and bartending. Because I was just a bar back barista before the pandemic, and Eric brought me back and he's like, all right, you have to be prepared to start serving because that's what you're going to be doing. I was like, okay. So I was thrown into that. And then eventually I just started going behind the bar with Jamie and Eric when they were working, and I was like, show me how to make this drink, show me how to do this. And they're like, okay. And then eventually we reopened, and he's like, all right, you have bartending shifts. I was like, oh.
Nice.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
I mean, how
That
about
was
you,
it.
Clarissa? How was that whole lockdown thing? I heard you said you came back.
Yeah, I came back a little bit after August. August definitely got there, like, right in the... It was still, like, towards the beginning of it.
Yeah.
It was like May.
It was still all in 2020, but it was weird, man. And then even watching it slowly come back to life, and we're still watching Tisane slowly come back to life. There's nights where I'm like, oh, wow, this feels like old Tisane. And we have a bunch of bodies in there. But when it first started happening and we were, like, sectioning people off, and we had all the plexiglass up, and it was weird, man. It was weird. You felt like you didn't want to get too close to people, but like you still wanted to be that like really fun bartender.
Yeah.
And then like when we got the chance to do it again, we're like, is this okay? Like,
Having like private parties that were limited to 20 people and under. When we first started doing Tuesdays again, like we'd have to give people wristbands to have a certain amount of people. Do you remember that?
that was we brought back like our first boys night, and we were like, that's something that we really wanted to like bring back. That was like one of our
That's what we're known for.
best nights, and people would come from all over for
Right.
our
Yeah.
Tuesdays. And even we lost a really big staple, Danny. Of course, Danny. We can't have this whole podcast without mentioning Danny, because
Right.
everybody
Right.
will never stop talking about this. But we lost a lot of old school people at Tisane, and Tisane was like built on people that have been there for 10, 11 years. Now, like I said, we're constantly evolving. Now they're seeing us, and they're seeing a lot of new faces, and now we still have some of those old school regular guests that like had to get used to us and not see the old faces, and we're still trying to keep like a piece of what it was, but also like
Evolve into something
evolve it into something like, I don't want to say better or new, but more us.
different.
Yeah.
Also, just to evolve to survive the climate of what's happening now. There's certain things that work now that wouldn't have worked before COVID, and vice versa. It's just a changing industry. And there's
Right.
not much you can do about that but like sink or swim, and we chose to fight.
What's different? What's more different now then?
The fact that we have half of the amount of staff and we're pulling almost the same numbers that we
Okay.
were doing pre-COVID.
Sometimes more.
Wow.
And we have doubled the amount of patio space now since we got our patio renovated. So we have a lot more tables, half the staff,
Oh, okay.
same shifts, same
I
hours.
see what
And
you're
it's
saying.
people doing, instead of before everyone would do the amount of work of 4 people, and now it's everybody's doing the amount of 7 people.
Now, I know we had asked this question a couple of times to other bartenders and other restaurant workers, if you will. What can we, the patrons, do? I'm hearing, I want to say it for you, but I don't want to speak for you. But what can we do to help your job become easier, in quotes?
Become easier. Just appreciate us. Show us a little love.
Yeah.
The patience is a big thing. It's really, I wouldn't say, and it's not going to make it easier or harder. Just be nice to us. We're doing our best. Like, we're still here, like, trying our hardest. I feel like everybody has to work in the service industry, at least, like, for a year
Oh.
of their life.
Right.
It's like, you want everything to be easier? Get a restaurant job
Right.
as your first job. And
Yeah.
then,
They will definitely tip better.
Yeah.
for sure.
Could not agree more. So, August, not to transition too abruptly here, but we know that you're also a tattoo artist, and would love to hear a little bit about the background of that and how you got into that and all of that, if you don't mind.
So I'm still like in the baby steps of apprenticing, because it's a tattoo artistry, and like the whole industry of that is so weird. It's almost like a trade, like plumbing or electricians or something like that. You don't go to a college for a degree. You have to find somebody willing to mentor you, take the time, and you do the hours of the apprenticeship. There's legal certifications through the state now, but it's a really weird process, and it's just about connections and knowing the right people. So luckily through Tisane, I found the right person who would mentor me. I met a lot of other tattoo artists through Tisane and through people that I've met. So I have a lot of connections, artists that I know. I have shops that I know are good and reputable, and it's gonna take me probably another year and a half to fully get certified and do what I need to do. But I honestly, thanks to Tisane, like that, I'm doing that. It's something I've always wanted to do. I've always been an artist. I've always liked making art for people. I remember growing up in high school and people were like, "Oh, you should be a tattoo artist." And I was like, "Oh no, like." I couldn't put my art on somebody's body forever. That's a lot of pressure, and I wasn't ready for that. But during the pandemic, I discovered through like making these custom jackets that I make for people that people were willing to spend money on it. People were willing to have me commission them something. People were happy with what I was giving them, and that made me happy because I was spending my free time doing something I loved and giving someone something that they also loved and would have forever. And that's when it clicked for me that I was like, okay, I think I really could do this. I think people would appreciate it. I think I can get over that fear of not being good enough and take that step forward to do it. So I'm still in the beginning stages, but I'm excited to see where that takes me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So artist for a long period of time, high school days.
Forever. My mom was a fashion designer, so I grew up like with her, drawing with her. She'd draw like outlines of clothing and she'd just give me a copy and be like, color this in. And I'm like, okay.
Nice.
And I'd color it in and show it to her. And she's like, that's actually great. I'll send this to my people and stuff like that.
That's
I always
so cool.
grew up in an artist environment
Yeah.
with her.
Nice. So your inspirations would be, if anybody or...
Everything.
I remember talking off air one time. You said your inspirations come out of music.
Yes.
Sometimes a lyric.
Yes.
Okay. How does that creative process work?
In terms of music, like I'm not musically talented, but I appreciate music. I listen to any and all genre as long as I can understand what the person's saying. If I can't hear the lyrics, I'm like, yeah, that's fine, but it doesn't hit the same way. Just because I'm an emotional person, I just resonate with lyrics more. That's why I listen to a lot of the same music I listened to in high school and middle school. Pop punk bands, emo bands, stuff like that.
Right up his alley.
Yeah, that's my jam. I love it. And it's just timeless music and everybody loves it and it's just deep.
Nice.
And there's just certain lyrics that I hear and I'm like, oh, I just get an image in my head of how I could make that lyric into an image. So a lot of my tattoos I have on me are tattoos I have designed for a lyric. Just so I'm not covered in words because I don't think that looks good. So
Awesome.
that's just usually how my creative process goes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now I know Clarissa has some creative things in her cocktail competitions, and how many have you done?
Yeah, I've done a couple.
Yeah.
I've done a couple.
9,000?
No, I wouldn't go that far. I've done quite a. My second competition was a gin competition, and I never really played with gin before I went into these competitions. I really didn't have any appreciation for it, and I threw something together. I never won any competitions. I'm not that cool, but I've gotten second place twice.
Yeah.
And one of them was my second competition that I did with the gin, and then my other one was on 20. And I did my pina colada, which people still rave about, and it's going on the menu soon. That I'm super excited about. But I
You heard
found
it
a
here
lot
first.
of my creativity from people literally giving me like a one ingredient idea. And even when me and August will work on stuff, or somebody at the bar will like, Jay told me one time, he's, it'd be really cool if somebody made like a garlic garnish. And I made it like my whole like job for the next like week or two. And I was like, I have to figure out like how to make a garlic garnish. If anybody's gonna do it, it's me. And
It was like the best martini.
yeah, it was really cool. It was a really savory martini, and it's like something that I have never really seen going out and going to cocktail bars. Like, I went out to like New York City and went to Maury Margot and like Death and Co. And I've gone to a couple places out in Philly. But I've tried a bunch of like cocktails from like really cool bars, and it's always just built me to keep like moving forward and keep growing. Like cocktails are constantly evolving.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's always like on to the next and trying something new. And like Alexa, when I worked with her, she's, you got to make a drink. That's cool, but don't do it more than 3 times. If it's not working within 3 times, move on. There's always something else.
You've told me that.
So I've always kept that with me. Like, as much as I want to make like one drink and I think it's gonna be really cool, if I try it 3 different ways and it still sucks, it's like trying to polish a turd. But even when I would sit at Little River for hours on end before people would come in, because it was definitely more of that late night industry spot when I worked there, I would just sit there, and Chris had a variety of books I would just indulge in constantly. And I just started writing them down in my notebook, and he was one of the people that was like, any drink that you want to make has probably already been made. So take a classic drink and twist one thing in it, and all of a sudden you'll have something quote unquote new. So I've also kept that in my back pocket. So I would look at all these drinks, and it's okay, like, we want to do like a classic Mai Tai for our next drink on the menu, and I was like, why don't we like infuse it with like mangoes or something, give it an extra spunk. So it's always like taking something that's been done, but also just twisting a little bit and giving it a little extra flavor.
For folks at home, that means she knows her flavors.
Yeah.
She knows what mixes and
She's got
matches.
a good palate, and she's got a flavor Bible.
I've got a good team behind me too. I have a lot
The
of people
flavor
that
Bible.
appreciate it, so that's cool. I'm in a place that like people actually appreciate cocktails, so that's also fun.
Yeah.
And I'm not even one to go out and drink cocktails. I'm a shot and beer kind of girl. Don't even want to think about what I'm drinking. Just drink.
Yeah. So, speaking of new and exciting things, what can we expect in the coming months at Tisane? Is there anything new coming up? Is there anything exciting that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, guys, Pride Month's right around the corner.
Yeah.
You know how much we love June.
It's 3 things a day in June, all month long,
Nice.
Hell yeah.
every week, all the time. So we're definitely amping up for that. We've been talking to Victor about certain themed Tuesdays every single Tuesday, so it's not just the regular stuff. I don't want to say too much. Yeah. I know at the end of August we're having a hoedown party.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
What?
That seems
we
so
really love
uncharacteristic.
to turn birthday parties into really big theme nights now. It's like become our thing, where some of our friends will come up to us and be like, yes, I want to do my birthday party at Tisane. And it's exciting because more and more people are like, wow, okay. They go out of their way to decorate the place and like actually throw a whole theme into it.
Right.
So,
Yeah, like
That's
we had
awesome.
a Euphoria birthday party like last month that was crazy fun.
You said Euphoria?
Euphoria,
Oh,
like
the show.
like
Yeah.
the HBO show, and I ended up puking in the lounge at 12:30. So
You had a great time.
I'm never like that.
Oh my God. All right, you hear that, folks? If you want to throw an epic birthday party, give Tisane a call. They will go all out.
We got a great team of DJs, and we have a lot of people with great ideas, and it's just, I feel like Tisane's just turned into Halloween all year long. Any excuse to wear a costume, or for Clarissa to talk to cops in a giraffe onesie, like, you know.
we're here for it.
Yeah, we're here for it.
All right. So we like to end every episode with the same 3 questions. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Question number 1. What is your favorite thing about Hartford?
The people.
No, same.
For sure.
It's a really great, diverse area.
Yeah.
That's why I moved here.
Yeah.
It's
We
just-
hear that all the time.
All the time.
And
It's
we
true,
love
though.
that we hear it all the time.
Especially, I can't speak for a lot of Hartford, but definitely the West End. You have like so many different faces that walk in that door all the time.
Yeah, you want to talk about a hidden gem? The West End's like
Yeah.
it.
The gem.
When we went to New York for Pride last summer, we met a whole bunch of people, and we were just plugging Tisane in the West End. We're like, it's the coolest spot in Connecticut. Have you ever been to Connecticut? They're like, yeah, I've been to like Fairfield. I'm fuck Fairfield. Go to the West End. It's the coolest spot.
Nice. Since we're on it, hidden gems in Hartford.
Monte Alban, Tangiers,
Located on Farmington Avenue, both of them.
yep.
Yep.
Capital Ice Cream.
Oh, I don't know Capital Ice Cream.
That's the one.
It's next to
Capital.
Saurian Soil.
Oh,
it's on
okay.
Capitol.
Yeah.
It's good ice cream.
Shout out to our skater boy Jared, but I would say
Heaven
that
Skate Park.
the skate park has
Yeah.
a lot of really cool art. Every time I've walked by it, I've never actually been inside it, but like even driving by or walking by, they have a lot of really cool artists that have like decorated that place with graffiti.
Yeah.
So like visually wise, I think that place is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And also like I used to walk over the bridge where Riverfront is from like I would park in East Hartford and walk the bridge. I love the Riverfront. And
That's
I honestly
right.
like
I love the
really
Riverfront,
loved like
too.
being on the East Hartford side and like looking into Hartford and like watching the sunset. Like I used to do that like almost every night. That was like my spot that I would hang out with people.
Yeah.
And just look over Hartford and walk the bridge. And
I know exactly where you're talking
Yeah.
about.
it's like a really cool area that you don't even see like a lot of people like going out there and appreciating it the way I think it should be appreciated. That's a really cool spot. I used to sit under the bridge and look through like the underpass and like they have these really cool arches and it's like if you want to take some really cool pictures, that was like a really cool spot for me that I always enjoyed.
There's also a really old like train bridge going over the Connecticut River. So if you're
That's the one, the East Hartford side too.
on the East Hartford side, but you have to get to it through a residential area. You have to park your car sketchy, like on the side of the road, and you take this walk through a little bit of woods, and it's this rusty old bridge covered in like graffiti, and it's over the river. And
By the way, it's not abandoned.
it's not abandoned. No.
It's not. I was on the bridge and a train came.
Wait, what?
What? Let's not do that again.
So there's like a fence and we were all like hanging out and I was like smoking a cigarette and one of my friends peers over and goes, "Hey guys, there's a train." And I looked behind me and I was like, "Holy shit, guys, there's a train." And I swear to God, we were like running forward, but I'm like yelling at the girls, I'm like, "Run faster!" And I'm in like the back of the line.
Oh God, what
And I
movie is
swear
that?
The train was moving like 1,000 miles an hour.
Oh,
and I, like,
man.
jumped into these bushes and I was like,
That
"I
sound
thought
like-
you told me this was abandoned."
Isn't there a scene like that in that movie Stand By Me or something? And they're all running. Yep.
That's a great Michael
God.
Bay film right there.
It's really cool, but it's not abandoned. It's not. Don't listen to what everybody
I've
says.
had a full like celebration of life for a friend that died on that bridge, and we were all standing there in suits with putting flowers on the bridge and stuff, and we never saw a train. Could you imagine if a train came and we're all like talking about this?
Jumping in the
weird-
river and shit.
That's a big drop. I don't know.
I don't think you want to jump into the river.
Well, I'd rather that than get hit by a goddamn train.
All right. Last and certainly not least, if you could change one thing and one thing only about Hartford, what would it be?
I have to pick and choose.
Yeah.
I would say affordable housing. That's not shit. Affordable housing, because we have a lot of homeless that deserve a place to live. We have a lot of, I see a lot of young kids that just like also don't have places to live. I see people on Instagram all the time asking for a cheap room somewhere. A lot of queer kids looking for places to live. And this isn't just a Hartford problem, but keep it to that. I think we need to stop focusing on gentrification and just more just accessibility.
I
Yep.
mean,
really
even
it.
if you're gonna like pretty it up, you don't have to like make it a $2,000 apartment. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like who has
take care of our
$2,000 for a
city.
loft?
Yeah.
Like, have appreciation for our city and like where we love to go, and not stab us in the heart while doing it. Dude.
Right.
Because like even like Capitol Ave, like that was like a weird turnover. Like when that big apartment building
Yeah.
came up, and like I remember everybody would just like park on the side of the road, and now you have to pay to park. Come on, dude. Is there?
Parking in Hartford and West Hartford in general is so expensive. I go up to Northampton and it's 50 cents for over 24 hours.
Yeah.
And you park in West Hartford for an hour and it's $3.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, dude.
Parking in general is an issue that like
Is that what you check?
if you look at everybody that like tries to like tow, or like even us at Tisane, we're like, yeah, like you can park at Wash Tub after a certain amount of hours. Tangiers used to nag us about people parking
used
there.
to
And
tow
they have
constantly.
like they have a huge parking lot.
Hey.
If you want people to come to this area and appreciate this area, they gotta put their car somewhere.
Right.
Like,
Right.
Like, we're never going to be able to keep moving forward in the West End. Like, the food truck park, I'm really excited for.
Yeah.
We're planning on hopefully working side by side and having a great little community over there.
But on
we
the
used
other
to park,
end, yeah.
We used to park over there. That was
Right.
like our overflow
Half
parking.
door.
That was
Yep.
the first thing I thought of when I saw that in the newspaper. I was like, wow, this is really exciting, but where's everybody going to park
Yeah,
now?
but that's like a serious question. Like, where is everybody going to park?
Right.
Tisane fills up half the street. Half
Yeah.
fills up the
Yeah.
other, like,
Yeah.
half of the street.
Not everyone wants to park on the street. People feel safer with the parking lot.
Yeah.
So,
Heard. All right. So this is a great episode, guys. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for coming on.
Thank you both so much.
thank you.
Yeah. All right. So guys, go ahead and plug yourselves. Where can we find you?
Tisane.
Yeah, you'll find us at Tisane. We have a great staff. Got great people. You'll always find, somebody to talk to at the bar. So thank
Even
you to
just-
our customers. Thank you to great staff.
Even just people watching. And 537 Farmington Avenue, Tisane Euro-Asian Cafe. As James Dean likes, Tisane Euro-Asian Bistro Cafe. That is not the name, but you can find us there and hopefully some other places down the line. But
Social medias. Where can we find you on social media if you want to be found?
on Instagram, I am lavender_wings, and you can hit me up for jacket commissions. Just hit me up in general, or eventually tattoo stuff.
For everybody that doesn't know me, I go by the lesbian. I am _the_lesbian_ on Instagram. Also follow us on My Tisane on Instagram too. You'll find every single one being promoted on our Instagram and our weekly, monthly events that are always happening on there too.
Specials, staff highlight posts, all that stuff.
All right, next up it's Jason. The boys chat with him about his family, brewing business, and much more. Let's jump right in.
How you doing, man?
Not too bad. How you boys doing?
I'm doing good, doing good.
Doing real well. Thank you for joining us this week.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Let's jump right into it. Jason's as a Spigot bartender as well as other places.
Yes, sir.
Was it illicit?
Illicit Brewing over in Manchester.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what's your origin story? What's your relationship with Hartford, the area?
Born in Hartford. My parents got divorced when I was 7, so I moved down to outside of Atlanta with my mother, but I came back up here after college. My family, my great-grandfather started an ice company in East Hartford in 1911, and so I came back up, worked for my dad. He and I actually started a microbrewery, Old Burnside Brewing. We made 10 Penny Ale in 2000, and I was with them till about 2015 and left and went to pursue bartending and just find a little saner lifestyle. Not saner, less stressful lifestyle for myself.
Yeah, we're not going to gloss over that. Go back to that brewing company thingamajig that you're talking about.
Yeah, so we were, I think, license number like 4 or 5 in the state. There was nothing.
Really?
I think now there's 170 plus breweries in the state of Connecticut, but back then nobody. It was Budweiser, Bud Light, Coors, and so we started a microbrewery using the water that we actually made our ice with.
Bro, we have 4 questions, like generic questions. We didn't know that part.
Oh yeah.
So, all right, D-Rock, let's scratch those questions and go back to... Do you know the process that it took?
I can brew.
Go with it. What's the process?
Oh, it's basically cooking. You're following a recipe.
Okay.
But what you do is we actually had our own well on the property of the ice company that we used to make the water. It had a really nice mineral content.
Okay.
Pretty hard water. Very similar to the water in Edinburgh, Scotland. Family history, Scottish. Have a kilt. Play the bagpipe.
Really?
Yeah. I don't play the bagpipe. I can play the
I
bagpipe.
just want to see you in the kilt.
And so it made really good ales. Couldn't make a lager with that beer if you tried, unless you threw a bunch of softeners in there. So basically, when you're making beer, you're taking the grain, you're milling it out to expose all the proteins, and you're heating it up to convert the starches to sugars.
Okay.
And then you boil it, you add your hops, and then you throw yeast on it, and the yeast eats all the sugars, creates carbon dioxide and alcohol. Then you have beer.
There you go.
Okay, so how did you guys decide that you were going to do this? You were making ice.
I was always into like craft beer. Like I was like one of the first people to like get it. If you ever saw my original Untappd profile, it's really sad on how many unique beers I've had. And we just decided there was a market there that could be filled, and we were originally draft only. I think for the first 4 or 5 years we were in business, and then we started doing growlers, but we'd fill them and sell them to like package stores. You go to the package store, buy a growler at 10 penny. You put a huge music fest on in Hartford every year, Pipes in the Valley, a riverfront recapture. You get about 20,000 people downtown last Saturday in September every year.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, right on the river. Every bagpipe bands, freaking flying bands in from all over the world. Yeah, so it was a good time.
All right, so this is the fourth, you said the fourth patent or fourth license?
Fourth brewing license in the state of Connecticut.
In the state of Connecticut.
I think the only other breweries that were older than 10 penny were the old New England Brewing, not the new one. Hammer and Nail, which is defunct.
Yeah.
Farmington River, which is defunct. And I think City Steam.
Wow.
Yeah.
Definitely City Steam.
Yeah, City Steam was late 80s, I think.
Yeah.
I remember there was a brewery under the Gold Building called Hartford Brewing.
Yes.
It was like a cool, like English pub vibe kind of thing. And that's when I first started getting into craft beer was those guys because it was just a cool place to hang out, and I became friends with those two dudes.
All right.
And
so what made you decide to actually get that moving?
It was just we saw a market could be filled. And
It was you, your
me and
father?
my father were just like, let's do this. We bought a brewery out of Sheridan, Wyoming.
Okay.
Showed up 4 flatbeds full of brewing equipment in the middle of February. Freezing out. It was like freaking 12 degrees outside trying to unload these trucks.
Interesting.
Yeah, and put it all together. We had a brewer that we knew through a friend, and he brewed, and I was helping him out. And so,
Right.
yeah,
So you had to get a distributor.
Yeah, we had a distributor, Franklin Distributors, who no longer exists. They merged with HDI.
Okay.
So yeah, it was an adventure.
Oh,
It
that's
was
awesome.
it was a good run. For familial sake, my father and I decided to part ways, and now we're a much better place.
So you said you went to Atlanta.
Yep. Little town
You were
outside
7
of
years
Atlanta.
old. Yeah, little town outside. Was it Decatur, right?
Norcross.
Norcross. Okay. Familiar with that area. My family is down there right now. So you went down there, and before you went to Atlanta or Norcross, Georgia, how was Hartford?
I was 7. I remember going to like the G Fox building at Christmas time, and they had that Christmas thing upstairs, and then you go through the little door and a little shop you could buy like your parents' presents. Your parents give you $5 and you come out with presents all in the bag and hidden and stuff. And people went downtown, and it was a place, but West Hartford didn't exist. Like I had an aunt who lived in West Hartford, and we'd go to her house and just hang out at her house because the center wasn't the center. I think
Right.
there was nothing. There was a German restaurant. I think it was pretty much the only thing there. The Edelweiss.
Yeah, and the shoe place, the sneaker place.
Yeah.
Yep, that's about it.
Yeah. And then even when I came back in 1991, Hartford was popping.
Right.
You had Pig's Eye wasn't open yet, but North Shore was there. The Civic Pub.
Yeah.
Russian Lady. Chuck Cellar. Everything. Dagny's, which is like a school now. But that was like Reggae Thursdays there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So was that all? Or was that
So Dagny's is on Arch.
Arch Street?
Arch and whatever the street is on the back side of the Wadsworth.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
That
it was on that corner, and it's like a building. They put a building up there. I think it might be part of UConn.
Yeah.
But that was Thursday. You could find live music every night in Hartford. Russian Lady had bands. Arch Street, North Shore had DJs. Civic Pub had band. Dagny's had band.
Yeah, and so the you say the year of the year of demarcation was when, like 2000.
The sad thing is, it's almost when the Whalers left.
Huh.
It's and I heard somebody talking about this. It might have been Malcolm Gladwell, and he was talking. He for some odd reason he enjoys Hartford, and he said,
Interesting.
Hartford lost its identity because they had a major league sports team, and whatever that means in economic terms, who knows. But they had a major league sports team. When that team left, it's like they lost the identity.
It definitely lost a giant draw for pulling people downtown.
And it was 40 nights a week or a year, but at the end of the day, that's 10,000 people showing up.
Yeah.
In the winter.
And it was enough to keep the Etzel Center open so that they could do other things there too on the other nights of the year.
Yeah.
I remember when Michael Jackson came to Hartford. Remember that?
Yeah.
87, I think it was. Something crazy like that.
Yeah.
You don't hear big names like that. I don't think. I could be wrong.
I don't know. I saw Springsteen at the...
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Springsteen a couple times at Civic Center. The casinos don't help because the casinos drag. They'd rather go play at the casino and get treated like a VIP than Hartford. But the Hartford Arena is still bigger. They got Toto coming. I saw that. So that's good.
So you've been serving and bartending around the area for about 6 years.
7 years. Yeah, I left. Like 2015.
But you've been in the industry.
Yeah, basically, I just transferred from supplier side of the industry to the on-premise side, and I worked in a restaurant in West Hartford Center, Zahara, and then worked my way up. I opened up Perone and Pina in Hartford in the Goodwin Hotel. I worked, Spigot, obviously, Illicit Brewing,
right?
Yeah, a couple other spots popping around. Illicit's just an animal. It's it's a nightclub.
When did that start? When
November 2019. So right before COVID. Yeah, but the place was just crazy.
I believe that's Adams Street, right, Manchester?
Yeah, the old Adams Mill.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
yeah,
right.
They did a great job with a beautiful building. Have a brewery right there. It's like a beer hall downstairs, and upstairs during the week is a cocktail bar.
Right.
And on weekends it turns into a nightclub.
All right. So you must have networked well anyways, working in the brewery,
Yeah.
people already in the industry, the restaurant business.
Yeah.
And then you could tell what's good beer, what's bad beer.
Yeah, there's a lot of beer out there.
So I was thinking that it has to be like there wasn't too much of a culture shock. You coming from brewery life to
No. It's people to people. Whether you're dealing with them at a beer fest or you're putting them a beer across the bar, people are people. And you just gotta listen to their stories, and you know how it is. The day crowd at Lake Spigot.
Spigot.
I know exactly what they want when they walk through that door, and it's sitting there as they walk in, and we have to listen to Howie's crazy stories.
Yeah. God bless him. Yeah.
That's definitely a very different experience, though, from being on the other side of it. Yes, you're still interacting with people, but now you're interacting with them on a much more, personal level.
Well, yeah.
Dealing with their drunken bullshit.
You've never been to a beer fest, obviously. And guess what? I ain't getting paid to be at the beer fest.
Fair, but I don't know. I'm not complaining to the guy serving me beer at the beer fest about my life the way that I might if I was at a bar.
You know what, though? You take it all with a grain of salt, and you want to make sure no one's going to go do anything bad to themselves. I think half the time they come into the bar to vent. They just want to talk, and either the wife's not listening to them or they got nobody to talk to. Mm-hmm. And you never know. You meet really interesting people. I was at a airport bar in Atlanta.
Yeah.
If you ever have a layover in Atlanta, it's One Flew South.
Okay.
Terminal E. Mm-hmm. And this woman, she's bartending, and all these people are on their phones and stuff. And she takes their phones and puts them down. And she goes, "You're in an airport bar. You never know who you're going to meet. You talk to people.
Smart, yeah.
You talk to people, and it's social interaction. We all need it. I think this working from home stuff is going to drive everybody nuts eventually.
It's been driving everybody nuts.
So how would you compare bartending back then to bartending now? How has the experience changed? How have the clientele changed?
And it's funny. So talking to people, I'm part of all these bartending groups and telling all these horror stories of restaurant guests that are just being awful to people, to their servers and stuff like that. I'm not experiencing that.
It helps that you're about 6'5".
Yeah. But I just, it's give everybody a break, bro. We're all struggling, and I've ran a guy who is the manager of Avere came in last night downstairs, and I was like, "How was it?" And he goes, "I put tables out, and people are screaming at each other over the tables." Because he had tables outside. Yesterday was so nice.
Yeah.
He had tables outside, and people are fighting over them.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. And he's like,
relax.
West Hartford's very entitled.
You don't say.
It's very entitled. And I know this person. I know that person. I know, the joke, I've never worked for the Max Group, but the joke is always, they have t-shirts printed up that say, "We know Richie too." It's just this culture in West Hartford that's like that. Hartford doesn't have that. The Spigot's on the west end, 20 feet from the line, but...
Yeah. We have our characters sometimes.
Yeah, but my buddy owns the Pig's Eye in Hartford, and he's owned it since the day it opened. And the Pig's Eye is the Pig's Eye.
Yeah.
We go in there, play some pool, some tunes. They got darts, cheap beers.
Okay. For those that don't know, can you just explain the atmosphere within Spigot?
Yeah. We don't have pool, though.
No, we got darts. We throw at people. No, we don't throw at people. But just...
Yeah, only Johnny threatened people.
Describe the atmosphere in the Spigot, if you can.
It's a neighborhood bar. You're going to know... If you don't know anybody when you walk in, by the time you leave, you will know somebody. Either you will talk to somebody, or most likely they will probably talk to you because they're like, "We don't recognize you," but not in an intimidating way, just in a chill way.
Exactly. All right, man. So thank you so much for coming. Oh, we got 3 questions, bro.
Yeah, we got 3
right,
final
let's
questions
go.
for you. All right. So first, what is your favorite thing about Hartford?
It's I get, especially when I was working in the hotel, I get asked this all the time. Why do you live here? I was like, you're an hour from the mountains. You're 40 minutes from the beach. You're an hour and a half from Boston. You're an hour and a half from New York City. Where else can you say that? You can be in California and be like, oh, but we got the mountains and the beach. But you ain't got New York City. You ain't got Boston.
Right.
But it's a really good location. You know, they got good schools. My daughter's still at Avon High School out in Avon. It's just a nice area to raise a family. People come back. You know, my old boss at Barone and Pena, Tyler, he's from fucking Chicago, dude. And he moved here to raise a family.
Wow.
He moved here to open a restaurant, a bunch of restaurants, and raise a family. He's lived in L.A. He's a California boy, you know, and he's just he just loves it here. He just loves it's chill, because you can drive to, you know, middle of nowhere, but you're still 5 minutes from something. You know, you
Berkshire's up there.
There's green space. Keeney, Park is beautiful.
Right.
Elizabeth Park. Walk right through Elizabeth Park when those roses are blooming, man, and you think you're someplace else. And
I'll do it. Hidden gems in Hartford.
Let's see here. Obviously, the Spigot.
Obviously.
I don't know if it's going to be hidden anymore.
The crazy things like Monte Alban, like the little
Yes.
ethnic food places we've got. Dunn's River, up in the North End for Jamaicans.
Oh,
you've got crazy good little hidden restaurants, but go to them, find them, seek them out, because they've got their people from those countries making that food. I mean, Dunn's River is
delicious.
If you were mayor for the day and you could change one thing about the city of Hartford, what would it be?
I'd take the Yard Goat Stadium and put it by the convention center. I think Hartford is trying to force gentrification, and they always have. And if something doesn't work, they just move to the next spot. You had, originally it was the XL Center. Back then it was Civic Center. Right. Oh, that's not working. Okay, let's try to do something at Union Street. Oh, wait, that's not working. Here, let's build the Constitution Plaza. Oh, wait, that's not working. And you got this area, Front Street there, and in the convention. I would probably try to reconnect the city to the river.
Yes.
I think it's missing.
I've heard that a couple times.
That whole thing.
I've heard that a couple times.
But if you put the baseball stadium, I get why they did it where they did it. Put the baseball stadium over by the convention center, you're going to draw more conventions.
Yeah.
Because, okay, cool. We can buy 5,000 tickets to go to a game for all these people at this convention. And you got a hotel, you got a bar district, everything's right there. I love going to the Goats games, and we'll walk out and we'll go over to City Steam, then we'll walk down to Vaughn's. Another hidden gem, Vaughn's. And then we'll
shout out to John.
Yeah, shoot there and then hop in an Uber and come back over here. But I think a lot of people who are going to the Yard Goats games just go, get in their car and go right back out to whatever town they came from.
Yeah.
And it's hopefully with the development around the stadium, it does drive some people to hang out a little more. But that's the one thing I would do is move it over there. And then just right on the river.
Awesome.
I love that idea.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, man.
No, man. Thanks you guys.
Thank you, Jason.
That was awesome.
All right, bro.
And finally, it's Eric from the Half Door. The guys chat with him about his life story and working in the West End. What are we waiting for? Let's get right to it.
Welcome, Eric. Thanks for joining us today.
I'm glad to be here. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, you telling me. I'm glad to have you on, man. Let's talk about your origin story, bro.
Oh, man.
What's your Batman story?
Oh, man, I don't know. It's a long story. I grew up in Southern California. I was homeless for a spat when I was 18.
What?
Yeah. 9 different. We'll start this off. We got to run through it quickly because it's long.
Okay.
It's all right.
When I was a kid, I grew up with divorced parents with 9 different schools. My stepmom was a Green Party. My dad was Democrat. My mom was Republican. My stepdad was a military man. So I kind of got a full raising, full sides of all that stuff. And then I wasn't the best kid, as you can tell by going to 9 different schools. I picked out a 1 or 2 for fighting, a couple other things.
Just wasn't taking no shit.
Yeah. That kind of shit. And then when I was heading into 18, me and my stepdad started getting fist fights. He passed away a while back. Me and him got along after, but we got into a couple spats. He would say things like we should nuke the whole Middle East, and he'd been growing up on both sides during Desert Storm. We'd been raised on both sides. I didn't really take a liking to that, and I didn't like my mom agreeing with it. We got in a couple fights, and me being a young kid, not being able to walk away, I didn't walk away very easy. He was a 6'4" military man. It never really ended well for me. So when my 18th birthday came, I left.
Okay.
And in the middle of my senior year, and I was homeless for good 9 months to a year, selling weed and mushrooms for the most part.
Just making it happen.
Yeah, I had a really bad, nasty mushroom trip that really made me spark into, holy shit, what am I doing with myself here? And then I went on, got out of being homeless and joined the California Conservation Corps and built trails in the Redwoods for a solid year. Finished up my diploma, got a KP, got some KP stuff. You do 8 days in the woods, 8 days out. So 8 days out, 8 days when I was out of the woods, you know, did some cooking work and stuff like that. And then it was a very odd thing. A lot of different kids and that, and people from Compton, Watts, Sacramento, a lot of gangbangers that didn't want to be gangbangers, and then a lot of meth heads, and then a couple of me, kids that were just trying to fix things. And everybody was trying to fix things. It was a very interesting thing. It was up in 4 hours above San Francisco. So I was like, a little bit of racism up there, so it'd be very interesting to watch like Bull and Mo, who were some of the guys like talking about getting their guns. It's like, yo man, we're not here for that kind of things. And a lot of crazy stuff up there. A lot of meth heads getting back into meth. There's a lot of meth up there. See a lot of crazy things. I did that.
So you have no room for judgmental anything right now. Because, I mean, listen to your background.
Yeah.
It is extremely diverse and
Yeah. I grew up even in the 9 different schools I went to. There's a lot of different communities. You know, I went to schools that were 33% white, 33% Asian, 33% Mexican. I went to one school that had 20% Samoan kids. I went to one school that was mostly black. I went through a lot of different things. My best friend as a kid, Inyo, was Mexican. My other best friend, Travell, was black. You know, another friend, Mike Gann, he was Asian. I grew up in a very multi-diverse situation, about a mile away from Disneyland. But yeah, so I did that whole California conservation thing. Moved back. My girlfriend at home got raped, so I moved back.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's wild, man. So I moved back home. We ended up splitting up because I took on 2 jobs. I was now ready to work. And one of the biggest problems I had when I was homeless is I was a lazy piece of shit. So I was trying to fix that. So then I moved back. That happened to her. I don't know really what happened to that guy. I don't think anything good happened to that man. And then I moved up to my parents' house. They kept me for 6 months, and then I was going to college, working 2 jobs, and I was backing out of college. They got mad at me. Stepmom found a soda can in my room. I wasn't allowed to have soda. It was a full soda can. She threw it up my head, kicked me out. I lived from hotel to hotel for a while.
soda.
Wait.
And there's a lot of things that happened, so I can't just blame it on it, but that was the breaking straw. You know, I did back out of college when I was going to, and there were a couple different things, but she found the soda can. She threw it up my head. I backed out. I got kicked out. Me and my best friend, Inyo, who I refound in my life. We went from hotel to hotel until I finally got an apartment. I met the girl of my dreams at the time. Spent 2 years with her. Things were going better for me. It was really expensive to live. I was working a lot. And then she got in a PhD program here at UConn, and I moved out here. Spent 5 years with her out here, working from Starbucks, and over in Manchester. Originally stores. I worked in Manchester, but lived in stores, then Mansfield, then Willimantic, and then Manchester. And then we split up, and then I moved out here, and I was going to save money to home because California is so expensive, especially Southern. Started working at Tisane as well as working at Starbucks. And I fell in love with West End. Kind of from there on out, after me and her split up, from there on out, well, she actually lived in the area for a while, and we were actually friends. But from there on out, I kind of just fell in love with this place and kind of stayed.
Damn.
wow. So you look really good to be 72 years old.
Right?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So that's a lot of the backstory. I mean, there's little tidbits in there, there's little things. There's a lot of wild things that happen in between there.
So altogether, how long you been in the West End?
9 years in the West End, 14 in Connecticut.
Okay.
Wow.
Something like that. Somewhere right around those wavelengths. I spent 9 years at Tisane, which I love that place with all my heart.
Yeah.
So did you start the restaurant business when you moved to Connecticut?
So no, when I came back from KP school, which is a kitchen personnel school up in the California Conservation Corps,
all right.
and
Cool.
then when I moved back, I worked at a Spoons, which is almost like a Chili's in Southern California, and I worked at a breakfast spot called Corner Cafe. That was a really cool breakfast spot, which that place was awesome. But then the owner slipped and hit his head while doing blow with some of his coworkers, and his head almost exploded. So his brain, and so his wife had to take over, and the business went down
I'm
in
not laughing at
flames.
you, dude. I'm not laughing
Yeah,
at
no,
you.
that was a wild one. So that was one of the reasons why I moved back, is because that job fell apart.
Oh my
Why I moved back to my parents.
Holy
up in
shit.
Anaheim. Yeah, man. Yeah. Anyways, wild stories.
I thought we were here to have you tell us wild stories about the West End.
I mean, just tell
tell
us about your life. Like,
It's a long story.
that's a long
I
story.
thought
man.
about it. I'm not going to tell all this, and I was.
It's an interesting story. It's an interesting story,
Yeah.
man.
No, I'm glad that you did.
Shout out to all the people that supported you along the way, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, a lot of good people. And in my homeless time, a lot of people took me in, so it wasn't even like direct, mainly homeless, you know.
Right.
A lot of friends that probably were doing me more harm by helping me instead of just letting me flounder.
Right.
You know,
Or,
and letting me just hit rock bottom, you know, kind of thing. But you know. But then the West End has treated me so well. I mean, I've seen this place is a weird, interesting place in my time here.
you're a West Ender for real now. You're one of the
yeah.
staples around here.
Yeah, man. Seeing so many people come and go from the colleges, people growing up and doing better things with their life. I actually don't have a lot of negative stories of people in this area. It seems like everybody seems when they leave, they grow. It was one of those things that someone told me when I first moved in the area, especially because I'm really Tisane born and raised, that when people seem to move on, they always seem to do better, which is a good thing. I think that's a growth. That means people grow in this area. I haven't seen a whole lot of that, or maybe I just haven't seen it, but let me think of a few good stories here.
You work at Tisane, Half Door.
I'm now Half Door, and that used to be my watering hole. That's where I used to go get drunk. But I decided, I was a GM over at Tisane for 2 years. I was a bar manager for 3 or 4 before that, and started as a barista there. So I moved my way up pretty heavily. I'm really proud of that. We did some cool things over there, but I couldn't do 60, 70 hours anymore. And for the money I was making, when I make a lot. Everybody, be a bartender, don't be a manager. Or be a server even. It literally make way more money for a lot less hours. And I think being a manager is something for me later down in life. It's not as hard of work, it is more hours, it's not as hard of work. But I still got some youth and I'm not old enough, I'm not that old yet, where I gotta do that, do too well, and especially at the Half Door. Half Door's a great spot.
Yeah, it is.
It's a wonderful place I can go, and I got a great leader in Alex there, and we
Shout
got
out to Alex.
yeah, great guy. And then I got my best friend works there now, Joe.
Berksy.
Yeah, Joe Burr, Chad and Talia are amazing. Herb's head chef, man, he's talented. Captain Seasoner over there, seasons everything. Seasons everything what you don't expect at an Irish pub.
Facts.
Yeah. Walk in there, like, damn, why is it spicy? I'm at an Irish pub right now.
This is jerk shepherd's pie, jerk shepherd's pie.
Yeah. It's definitely been a change though, man, because I do miss that Tisane. I miss that diversity that Tisane had, man. What a great place for community and a great place for people to go.
Yep.
You know, it's funny, it's so diverse that because of kicking people out in certain things, I've been called a racist, a homophobe, and an ageist because I gotta kick them out. Like all these things are so diverse, and we got all that in there. You know?
I know a couple of stories of the guys who kicked out.
Oh, yeah. You know, it's
Them that should not be named.
Yeah. There's been some crazy things in there. I think one of my favorite stories, a guy walked in one time on a megaphone, and he was on a megaphone, and he always wore his glasses. He'd been in before. So it'd be like 12 o'clock at night, all the lights down, and he'd have his glasses on. But he came in there during the day one time with a megaphone, screaming the megaphone. If everybody would just come at the same time, we'd have world peace. Now, the guy ain't wrong. Get the fuck out of my restaurant. Get the fuck out.
Wrong. Why? What possessed
With a
him? He was
megaphone?
on something.
No, he had to be on, and he had one of those mini megaphones, and he had to be on something.
Oh.
I think he was generally on something. He tried to fight me once or twice. I was pretty good. I was pretty good at diffusing. But that was a good one. I definitely got called racist for kicking him out that one. I think one of my other favorites was I was literally talking to this gentleman. He hangs out at Plan B all the time. Really nice guy, and he just retired. And he's got to be in his maybe his mid 70s, maybe his late 60s. I'm talking to him, and this other guy comes in who just literally spat on my doorman the night before. Comes in thinking he's going to get a drink, and I'm like talking to this guy, and then I walk over. I'm like, okay, you got to go. And it's an older gentleman. He's like, you're ageist. I'm like, I'm literally talking to this older man right here. Please. It's just wild. There's so many funny stories
Oh
of
my
that.
goodness. What was the wildest night that you were at?
Actually, there's a couple of them, but Bridget's birthday was pretty wild. But I would have to say Josh Lara's going away party, where he brought in so many people, and I think it was a karaoke night, and his family literally stood in the middle of the karaoke room, sat in the middle of the karaoke karaoke room where everybody had to sing karaoke around him, and the place was swamped. I think that was our sales record until Bridget's birthday. But Bridget's birthday we were pretty ready for. I think when that one we weren't.
Wow.
But I've seen some crazy nights there where you're flooded from the patio into inside.
Yeah.
And it's funny. It just takes the right theme or the right person to really put it together.
Yeah, I've seen that happen at one of the first Fridays.
Oh yeah.
Where it literally spilled out into damn near the streets.
First Friday was interesting, and First Friday brought great business. One of the problems we used to pre-pour waters. A lot of people were on drugs; they just wanted water.
Yeah.
They're there for that house because they're on ecstasy. They're not really drinking. I had one guy walk up to me. He's like, "You saw guava juice by me." He's like, "Can I get that guava juice?" It goes in a cocktail. I did give it to him, but I was just like, at first, I was like, "What do you?" That night was a wild night. That night it definitely had its moments. I actually didn't work a lot of them. I was the Saturday night bartender. I managed a lot of them. That's a whole different thing. And I do miss Sobe and Legacy heavily.
Oh yeah.
Those were my dudes. Those were my favorite DJs there back in my heyday. Legacy is such a premier talent, and Sobe, what he did for the community with those nights.
Oh yeah.
That's wild, man. You got to throw some love his way.
Talk about it, yeah.
He threw money out of his own pocket to make that happen. Tisane and Locals wouldn't pay to make it happen. So this guy, when he would bring in some of those premier DJs, like when he brought in Rob Swift, I think that.
I was there that night.
Yeah, it happened twice.
Yeah.
He brought in Rob Swift one time, and then he brought in the Executioners another time, I believe. But when they came in, I think they charged $1,400 plus hotel plus airfare, and we gave him, I think, $6.
Holy shit.
This guy was literally doing it because he just had a love and a passion, and this is how he wanted to finish out his career.
Wow.
You know.
Damn.
Supremely in love with his craft, and what an amazing talent he was too. And he just really wanted to work with the best. And there were so many great DJs we brought in and out.
Yeah.
You get to see so many people be able to talk about him. He's a great guy.
So you're at the half door now.
Yeah.
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 What's the difference? What's the big difference that you can pinpoint?
I mean, since I went in there, some of the staff has changed, and I do miss some of those guys since I had been going there forever. Some of the staff has changed, but I think the one thing that we're really trying to work on, same great beer, bringing back classic foods, and new cocktail program. So I think that was it. I wanted. For me, especially coming from a cocktail bar, what I really wanted is, it's not that so much that I want to sell all the cocktails. It's great to sell cocktails, don't get me wrong. It's not that I wanted to give up on beer and go to cocktail bar. That's not, I wanted to be a beer bar.
Right.
But I didn't want to lose those customers that wanted a cocktail. It's not that they didn't have cocktails that were good, it's just they weren't really going for it. We really just needed to go for it, throw a little flair on top of it, and make it a little Instagram worthy so people knew, you can go here and have a cocktail. And then Herb did such a fantastic job with the food, man. Bringing in the lamb stew.
Oh yeah.
That lamb stew is awesome, and bringing in some really cool Irish classics. And the cool thing is that the company's taking a different direction with a new leader that's in place. They're wanting us to change it every once in a while. So we're actually working on a summer menu right now for both of them.
Awesome.
Which right now mezcal is probably what I see that sells a lot. Mezcal's huge.
There's
a lot of things that we can work with now. I'm really hoping to see rum take off. Rum is probably my favorite.
Well, it's easy going.
It's made from sugar, and a lot of times you use sugar in the cocktail. It just makes a lot of sense. A daiquiri is just such a classic cocktail, and it's really blends well together. It just makes a lot of sense in my mind. But I don't drink a lot of cocktails these days. I think because I work at the half door, I drink a lot of Guinness. A lot of Guinness and James.
But you guys are going to be bringing in, I think you've already started bringing in guest bartenders on Monday nights, is it?
Yeah, so we've done 4 weeks. Oh man, it's been such a success. We brought in Ben, and they played music and also bartended. He played music and bartended. And then we brought in Andrew, and he brought in an office theme. He made all these crazy office cocktails. Like they had these cocktails in the show, and he somehow made them. He made an old-fashioned with Splenda, a Scotch old-fashioned with Splenda. and it's just like, how did you do that? And then what he did is he took a brown sugar Splenda simple syrup, and he added orange peel to it, and it really took, for some reason, which I wouldn't understand because I'm not that talented for whatever reason, I didn't know it, the orange peel took away from the Splenda. It really took away that aspartame, and it was wild.
Well, you do create cocktails.
Oh no, I'm not saying I'm not. I'm just saying that some of these bartenders. The best part is I have my skills and I have my talent with it. But the best part is working with these bartenders, and this is what I keep telling them, is that I get to learn so much from them, and I get to experience so much. And then the second best is the donations. So then we had Dan McManus. Shout out, Dan donated every single one of his dollars to charity. And then we brought in last week Colm from Agave. Great kid, did a great job, brought in people. We donate 20% every time. Except for Dan, we are up to $1,000 in 4 weeks donating to charity.
Wow.
If we keep this going, we're going to donate $10,000 in a year.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
And every time they get to pick their own charity, so we're making sure that we are hitting a lot of different spots and hitting a lot of different charities. I definitely have my favorites. I don't make that decision. I want them to donate where they want to go. It's their event. It's their takeover. And it's so much fun to see these people have such a good time. We got Heather Gardner coming in this week. She's doing the 80s. I'm such an 80s guy, because you have to know something. 80s cocktails suck, and she's putting on a fun twist. She's putting on a fun twist.
Why do they suck?
Peach schnapps, blue carousel.
Yep, you're right. Never mind.
And it was also just the age for mass production. So I went on, and I always try to have a snack for late night after the kitchen closes. I was like, okay, let me look up cuisine for the 80s. Man, Hungry Man dinners. So I decided we're doing pizza rolls. I'm gonna deep fry some pizza rolls, and we're gonna have some dipping sauces.
There we go.
And I also do all the cooking at night, so I have to make sure it's something like that. Last week I did Irish popcorn, so I seasoned Irish popcorn. The week before that it was office themed, so we did Kevin's chili. I had chili ready to go, and we're doing some fun things that way. So
Nice.
I'm going to do a quick word association, 3 or 4 words. I'm going to start with the Spigot.
Spigot. 3 or 4 words. An ex-girlfriend of mine, first word Jenna. I used to come here all the time with her. Darts, beer, shots, Talia.
Boom. Fernet.
Handshake. I'll explain that one. Handshake. Not my cup of tea, but I drink it. Car bombs. Half door, friendship, blackout.
All right, Eric, thanks so much for joining us today. We know that you have a time limit here. We're going to jump into our last 3 questions.
Yeah, cool.
We ask the same 3 questions on every episode. I don't know if you've listened, but they're always the same. So we'll start off with question number 1. What is your favorite thing about Hartford?
I have to put 2 together.
Yeah?
Community and diversity.
We hear that from everyone, and we
Over and over.
never get tired of
Yep.
it. That is
Love
our
it.
favorite answer to that question.
Yeah, it's really nice. I was actually explaining this to people the other day. I think the community and diversity, I think my favorite part about it is the food.
Ooh, yeah.
So coming from Southern California, I had really great food, but it's opposite. Out here, Indian food, Jamaican food, different kinds of Latin food, Italian food, pizza. So much great cuisine. So flavorful, a lot of it.
Yeah.
So that's one big one for me.
All right, if you were mayor for the day, you could only change one thing. What would you change about Hartford?
Oh, that's tough.
Because it's so perfect, or because there's so much you would change?
I think there's a lot of things I've changed about a lot of places, so I don't think that's really, I don't even think it's necessarily Hartford. I think if I could change anything, if I were doing my guest bartender nights and what I would donate for and what I would work towards is our education system. Always making our education system better, helping kids get a better education system and a better chance and a fighting chance at having a real world readiness.
Okay. Hidden gems in Hartford.
Things that don't get enough attention.
Oh yeah, date night, Trinity Restaurant. It is.
Where is this at?
Yeah,
It's right across the street. It's on Zion.
Okay.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's this little family. I forgot what ethnicity they are exactly. They're not Italian, but their Italian food is so stupid. And it's bring your own booze. Another thing. So bring a nice bottle
Okay.
of wine.
Yeah.
I brought in bottles of whiskey with me before.
Damn.
It is a hell of a date night. The food there is amazing, and generally it's pretty empty. So you get the kind of spot to yourself, and they're really sweet.
Yeah.
Now that is the epitome of a hidden gem right there.
Right.
Yeah, but There's so many, man. I love this area so much. Monte Alban, for me, as someone who loves Mexican food, they're authentic. They're missing spice, but if you ask for the hot sauce, you'll get it. They make their own hot sauce in house, and it just adds exactly what I need. I think they're making sure to take care of the East Coasters that are not used to that. Bingo. Yeah, fire.
Yeah, this guy over here.
Yeah, I can't do spice. Bro.
Yeah. So that they make sure of that, and then if you ask for the hot sauce, fire and spice.
Ooh, yes.
Go down a laundry list. There are so many places. I forgot the name of the grocery store, but there's a grocery store that has 4 different Latin restaurants in it. And I am blanking right now. I wish I really knew. Someone on the next episodes get that for me. Okay. Yeah, it literally has. I think it has a Dominican, Puerto Rican, Colombian, and Mexican. It's great. Another American Tasty Mexican, I think is what it's called. It's a food truck. Dude, they were doing like burrito ramen. They were doing some crazy food. As you can see, I really go to Latin a lot. Ichiban, great Korean food. So you think you go in there and you're like, oh, I'm gonna get sushi. Get the Korean food. They kill that Korean food. Man, there's so many spots. Banh mi, I can go. I eat out too freaking much, and I drink too much out and about. But there's so many hidden gems. Oh, a new one, the new Toro Mexican street food over by the Whole Foods. Yo, man, I love all those Toro locations. That one is
Banging.
Yeah, it is. I would describe it as very authentic, but with American portions on protein. So I went in there, ordered 4 tacos, and I was like, oh no. What did I do to this? Should order 2. Yeah.
That is really good advice.
It's like 2 slices of pizza from Angelina's.
Yeah.
You're gonna die.
Yeah. And I go on about pizza. There's so many good pizza around here, but obviously if you don't go pizza, go New Haven. If you're gonna really do it, you know. And then there's just so many places, man. I could probably think of 100 more if I kept going. I try and go out there. But again, date night, Trinity Restaurant. I really recommend it. I don't even these guys, when they see me, they love me, but they don't know me. This isn't me doing a plug for them. This isn't that. It's just really that good.
All right.
And every time I bring a girl, it's talked about. I've had those girls take other first dates back there, or other dates back there.
Nice.
Like, yo, why you steal my spot? Thank God I never run into it.
Eric, thank you so much for joining us today. Why don't you go ahead and promote yourself real quick before you leave? Where can our listeners find you?
Well, tonight you can find me at Tisane doing a guest shift. I haven't been there in 5 months, but generally you'll find me at the half door. I'm there Mondays for my guest bartender night. I really recommend coming out for that night. We donate 20% of our tips every time. So not only that, when you're buying your drinks and you're giving me money, you're really giving it to charity. And then Tuesday night trivia, and then I do Friday nights there, which we always have live music, and then I do Sunday brunch, bottomless mimosas, people. Bottomless. And you can also get bottomless Bloody Marys, and you can go back and forth. I do not make you choose. You go back and forth.
You live your life.
And we got a food item on there called the McSissin. It is a McGriddle. We're making McGriddles. You can catch me there, and I'm also about to start working on Jamie Arnold's food truck, which we need to get up and moving. It's Wise Out Culinary. You catch me cooking on there every once in a while. We're hopefully getting that new food truck spot, and so we do a brunch. It's a lot of fun. We're known for our BLTs.
Nice.
I
Right.
love cooking. It just doesn't pay enough, so I like to do it for a side gig.
Hear that.
That's what's up, man.
All right.
Appreciate you, brother.
Eric, thank you so much.
Thank you guys. You guys are a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of The Heartbeat with your hosts, Cam and D-Rock. The guys hope you enjoyed today's interviews with August, Clarissa, Jason, and Eric. Join them next week for Rob Peters and Jackie McKinney from the Asylum Hill Neighborhood Association. They'll be joining the guys to promote Domingo Hartford, which is a new initiative to promote walkability within Hartford's communities. As always, you can head over to theheartbeatct.com to sign up for the email list, as well as check out all the links and resources in the show notes. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you're listening to this. It goes a long way towards helping people discover the Heartbeat podcast. Thanks to the Spigot Cafe for hosting, to August, Clarissa, Jason, and Eric for coming on, and to Job and Carlo for writing the theme music. That's all for this episode, folks. See you next week on The Heartbeat. Flam, flam, flam. Flam, 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 flam. Oh my God, you're reading this part out loud, aren't you? You stupid son of a...